For today's class, we are talking about the accessory organs of the digestive system and their associated disorders. Accessory organs are not part of the digestive tube or alimentary canal. Rather, they are structures that support the organs in the alimentary canal. The accessory organs of the digestive system include the salivary glands, the pancreas, the liver, and the gallbladder. You have three main pairs of salivary glands, and these are the parotids, the sublingual, and the submandibular. The parotid is the largest of the salivary glands, and it's located just below and in front of each ear at the angle of your jaw. The sublingual gland is open into the floor of the mouth. And then you have the submandibular gland, which is opened into the mouth on either side of the lingual frenulum. And the lingual frenulum, this is this connective tissue that's underneath the tongue. The salivary glands, again, they're accessory organs, so they're located outside of the alimentary canal. And what they do is they're going to deposit secretions by way of ducts, these little tubes, into the canal. The salivary glands produce saliva, which helps to moisten the mouth and other parts of the digestive system. And saliva contains two primary substances, mucus and salivary amylase. The purpose of mucus is to moisten food and allow it to pass through less friction as it moves through the alimentary canal, so as it goes from the esophagus and into the stomach. And salivary amylase, this is a digestive enzyme, and this is important because it breaks down or begins the chemical digestion of carbohydrates. So if you eat a piece of bread, then salivary amylase is going to start to break that bread down. The next accessory organ that we are looking at is the pancreas. The pancreas is located behind the stomach, and the pancreas has both exocrine and endocrine function, so it serves as both an exocrine and endocrine gland. Exocrine glands mean that the secretions are passed through ducts. Okay, so with exocrine you have the presence of ducts. Whereas endocrine glands, the secretions are able to go through without ducts. An example of an exocrine function of the pancreas would be the secretion of pancreatic juice into ducts. And an example of an endocrine function of the pancreas would be secreting insulin, which is important in helping to control blood sugar. So insulin helps to lower your blood sugar. Now, pancreatic juice, this is the most important digestive juice. And the reason why it's most important is because this juice has enzymes that can digest all three types of food: fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. Pancreatic juice also has what's called sodium bicarbonate, and this helps to neutralize or reduce the acidity of hydrochloric acid in gastric juice that enters the intestines. Pancreatic juice enters the duodenum, which is the first segment of the small intestine, at the same place where bile is going to enter in. The common bile and pancreatic duct open into the duodenum at the major duodenal papilla. And papilla just simply means a small rounded protuberance. The next accessory organ is called the liver, and the liver is located just below the diaphragm in the right upper quadrant. The liver has many important functions. It produces and stores glucose in the form of glycogen. It also helps to detoxify blood of harmful substances like alcohol and drugs. The liver manufactures blood proteins, and it also stores vitamins A, D, and B complex. And for these reasons, the liver is considered one of the vital organs that you must have in order to survive, along with your heart, brain, kidney, and lungs. Another function of the liver is it manufactures a substance called bile. And bile is this green or yellow substance that helps to emulsify or break down fat into tiny droplets. The liver secretes bile into ducts. The hepatic ducts are going to drain bile out of the liver, and then the common bile duct is going to drain bile into the small intestine. We're now going to look at some disorders of the liver. The first disorder that we have here is cirrhosis. And cirrhosis is a very serious, chronic, progressive disease of the liver. And what happens in cirrhosis, the normal healthy liver cells, they become replaced by scar tissue, or this fibrous connective tissue. And as more and more of the healthy liver cells become fibrous due to the scar tissue, it makes it difficult for the liver to function. And so the liver is not going to be able to produce the blood proteins like it needs, and it can't filter out blood, can't filter toxins out of blood. Now, cirrhosis can have different causes. 75% of cases are caused by consuming excess alcohol. Cirrhosis can also be the result of taking too much Tylenol or acetaminophen. This can lead to cirrhosis. And also accumulating fat in the liver can cause cirrhosis as well. And with cirrhosis, the damage is permanent. So meaning cirrhosis, once those liver cells become fibrous and filled with scar tissue, this condition cannot be reversed. The next liver condition that we are looking at is hepatitis. And the term hepatitis means inflammation of the liver. There are many different types of hepatitis based on the virus that causes the hepatitis, but we're going to look at three. You have hepatitis A, hepatitis B, and hepatitis C. Hepatitis A is spread through contaminated food or water. Now, hepatitis A usually doesn't require treatment because it's a short-term illness. Now, hepatitis B and hepatitis C can be more chronic or long-term. They're both caused by a virus, and they're spread through blood and body fluids. And for these reasons, it's important to utilize universal precautions in order to avoid getting hepatitis B and hepatitis C. And this would be things such as wearing gloves when you are handling, wearing gloves when you could possibly come into contact with blood and body fluids. Now, hepatitis B and hepatitis C can be dangerous conditions because they can lead to cirrhosis, which we just learned about as being that scarring of liver tissue, or even liver cancer. With hepatitis B, there is a vaccine that's available that can also be used to prevent hepatitis B. However, with hepatitis C, there is no vaccine that is available. We're now going to move away from the liver and talk about the gallbladder. So the gallbladder is a small green organ that's located inferior on the surface of the liver. The gallbladder is important because it stores and concentrates bile. And bile, remember, is this substance that can break down fat. And the gallbladder is going to store that bile until it's needed by the body. So when chyme, remember that soupy substance that has fat in it, or lipids, enters the duodenum, that first segment of the small intestine, then that's going to trigger the gallbladder to contract and then force that bile into the small intestine so that that fat can be digested. Now, the gallbladder also has some common disorders that are associated with it. And the first one that we'll look at is called cholecystitis. And cholecystitis is inflammation of the gallbladder. And most often, cholecystitis is the result of gallstones. It can also be caused by tumors or bile duct problems as well. Now, gallstones are hard particles and that can develop in your gallbladder. And these gallstones can block the ducts, and this can then lead to, again, cholecystitis, that inflammation. Okay. The treatment for cholecystitis is often gallbladder removal or a cholecystectomy. Diets that are high in fat and low in fiber may increase the risk of gallstones. So to help to reduce that risk, you want to consume foods that are going to be low in fat and high in fiber. And that concludes today's discussion on the accessory organs of the digestive system and their associated disorders.